It began on a morning thick with fog, the kind that swallows sound and bends light into ghostly shapes. In the far reaches of the Carpathian Mountains, where the snow never fully melts and the trees whisper secrets older than men, a convoy of soldiers wound its way through a narrow, forgotten valley. Their mission was simple on paper: to locate a missing patrol that had vanished without radio contact 3 nights earlier. But nothing in the cold silence of that landscape felt simple. The mountain air was too still. The frost bit too sharply. And as the captain would later say in his report, the woods felt like they were watching. The soldiers came from different places, young men hardened by war, their faces carved by sleepless nights and the ache of uncertainty. They were used to danger, but this felt different. The radio static carried whispers they couldn't explain, faint bursts of sound that resembled voices speaking in a language none of them knew. The interpreter dismissed it as interference, but the sergeant, an older man with 20 years in the field, said nothing. He simply adjusted his rifle and kept walking, scanning the trees with the quiet dread of someone who had seen too much. As dusk approached, they reached the remains of the missing patrol's camp. The fire pit had burned down to black ash. Their tents were slashed open as if by something with claws. No bodies, no blood, only the sound of the wind moving through the valley. The medic found a torn piece of fabric snagged on a branch, part of a uniform. The edge was scorched as though burned by heat, though there had been no fire. The captain ordered a perimeter. The men set up camp in a loose circle, their flashlights cutting weak lines through the mist. No one spoke much. Later that night, a private named Novak took first watch. He was young, barely 20, and had the kind of nervous energy that made silence unbearable. He tried humming to himself, but the forest seemed to swallow the sound. That's when he heard it. Heavy, deliberate footsteps in the snow beyond the tree line. Too slow to be human, too heavy to be an animal. He raised his light and called out, his voice trembling in the stillness. Nothing. Only the echo of his own breath. Then he saw it. A shape moving between the trees, massive and dark, taller than any man he had ever seen. The shape paused, watched. Then in a single smooth motion, it disappeared into the fog. When Novak told the others, they laughed it off at first. Fatigue, nerves, maybe a trick of the light. But by morning, they found the footprints. Enormous impressions in the snow, each one at least twice the size of a man's boot. The captain crouched beside them, measuring with his hand. Could be a bear, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. The medic disagreed. Bears don't walk upright for miles, he murmured. And that was the thing. The prints went on, in a perfectly straight line, down the slope and into the forest below. They followed the trail. The silence grew heavier with every step, as if the air itself resisted their presence. Birds no longer sang. Even the wind seemed to fade. Then they reached a clearing, a strange circular space where no trees grew, just bare earth and frost. In the center, something jutted from the ground, a stone monolith covered in carvings. Symbols none of them recognized. Some looked like human figures, others like twisted shapes with too many limbs. The sergeant muttered a prayer under his breath. The captain ordered everyone to keep moving, but not before Novak brushed the snow off the stone, revealing a carving of a massive footprint, the same shape as the ones they'd followed. Night fell quickly after that. They made camp again, though no one wanted to. The air was unnaturally cold, the fire struggling to stay alive. The radio crackled with static, then for a brief moment a voice cut through. It was the missing patrol's leader, his tone urgent and distant. Do not follow the tracks. The signal died. That night, the screams began. Not human, not animal, and something else, the kind of sound that vibrates in the bones. The men froze. Then the trees began to move, branches snapping, the ground trembling. They fired into the darkness, their muzzle flashes strobing the fog. The sergeant shouted commands, but the noise drowned his voice. Something massive brushed past one of the tents, tearing it open like paper. Novak caught a glimpse, towering, pale and hairless, eyes glowing faintly like dying embers. He swore he saw a face, not monstrous, but sorrowful, ancient, almost human. By dawn, 2 soldiers were missing. Their rifles lay in the snow, barrels bent as if twisted by impossible strength. The captain, pale and shaking, decided they'd had enough. "We go back," he said. But when they turned toward the path they'd come from, it was gone. The forest had changed. The landmarks were different. The mountains seemed to have swallowed its own roads. As hours passed, their compass spun wildly and the GPS refused to lock. The men argued, fear replacing discipline. The medic began muttering about old Slavic legends. The Leshy, the guardian of the forest, said to punish those who trespassed sacred ground. The sergeant scoffed, but even he couldn't explain how the trees seemed to shift when they weren't looking. At one point, Novak found himself walking alone, though he could still hear the others behind him, until he turned around. There was no one there, only silence. He ran until he saw light on a clearing again, but different. In the center stood the same stone monolith, but now it was surrounded by dozens of footprints, massive and deep, circling it like a ritual. And in the snow beside it, something glimmered. A dog tag, half buried. The name matched one of the missing soldiers. Hours later, when the rescue team finally found them, only 3 remained. The captain, the medic, and Novak. They were incoherent, frostbitten, terrified. The captain kept repeating the same phrase. They were never men. The medic was found clutching a torn page from his notebook, filled with frantic sketches of the carvings, and something else. A warning scrawled in trembling handwriting. The forest remembers. The official report blamed exposure, disorientation, and psychological stress under extreme conditions. The existence of the footprints was dismissed as snow deformation. But the rescue team, those who found the camp, whispered different stories. They spoke of the strange marks burned into the trees, the way their equipment malfunctioned near the clearing, the way the snow never melted, not even under the midday sun. In the years since, locals have avoided that valley. They say it's cursed. They say you can still see the prints when the snow falls just right, too large to belong to any man. Hunters claim to hear footsteps behind them, slow and heavy, echoing through the forest long after the wind has died. Some say it's the Leshy. Others say it's something older, something that was here before men learned to name their fears. And every so often, a traveler goes missing. Their footprints end abruptly in the snow, as if lifted by unseen hands. The mountain takes them back. The forest closes. The silence returns. In the months that followed, the military sealed off the valley. Officially, it was due to unstable terrain and the risk of avalanches. But the locals knew better. They watched from afar as men in unmarked uniforms carried equipment up the slopes. Strange black cases, devices that hummed softly in the cold air. Helicopters hovered for hours before vanishing into the mist. No one ever said what they found. No one ever came back to explain why the snow at the base of the mountain turned gray for days after. Novak was transferred to a medical facility in Prague. The doctor said he suffered from acute stress disorder, hallucinations born from trauma and exhaustion. But his records note one thing the doctors could not explain. The prints that appeared on the hospital floor outside his room one night. Large, wet, and melted into the linoleum. The nurse who found them quit the next day. In his first recorded interview months later, Novak's voice trembled as he recounted what happened. It wasn't just fear, he said softly. It was recognition, like it knew us, like it had seen us before. When the interviewer pressed for details, Novak's eyes went distant. It wasn't an animal, he said, and it wasn't a man. It was something that didn't belong anymore, something that stayed behind when the world moved on. The tape ends with a faint sound in the background, a low hum, almost like breathing through the walls. The military archivist who cataloged the tape noted it too, labeling it unidentified environmental noise. Weeks later, the medic, the one who survived alongside Novak, disappeared from his home. His apartment door was locked from the inside. No signs of struggle. The only clue was a small patch of mud near his window, with what looked like the edge of a massive footprint fading into the wood. Some believe he went back to the valley. Others say the valley came for him. The captain, the last of the three, retired early and moved to a coastal town in Croatia. He refused interviews, never spoke of the mission, and spent his days staring out to sea. Locals say he sometimes walked the shoreline at night, barefoot even in the freezing cold, muttering to himself. One fisherman claimed he heard the captain whisper to the waves, "You followed me here, didn't you?" 3 months before his death, the captain mailed a package to the defense ministry. Inside was a notebook, the same one the medic had kept during the mission. The first half contained detailed field notes. The second half was something else entirely. Sketches of massive humanoid figures, some kneeling, others standing among trees, all drawn with trembling lines. Beneath one drawing, the captain had written, "They walked before we did." The package was classified immediately, but a copy of one page leaked years later through an anonymous source. It showed the carving from the monolith, drawn in charcoal, with one line scrawled below, "The Guardians of the Forgotten Ground." In the small villages that dot the Carpathians, stories about the Watchers predate the modern era by centuries. Shepherds spoke of giants that walked silently through the mists, leaving prints too large for any mortal. They were said to be protectors once, ancient spirits bound to the land, watching over forests that men had not yet claimed. But when the wars came, when bombs and machines tore through the earth, the old spirits awoke, not to protect but to remember. There's a folktale told by elders near Borsa about a man who tried to cut down a sacred grove for firewood. That night, he heard heavy footsteps around his house. In the morning, every tree he had felled was standing again, but his footprints were gone. The story ends the same way every time. He was never seen again. It's easy to dismiss these things. Superstition, myth, the imagination of people who've lived too long with fog and silence. But legends, like the mountains themselves, are shaped by what endures. They bend, they shift, but they never vanish completely. And when something that old stirs again, the land remembers before the people do. There's a file in the archives of the Ministry of Defense, redacted, of course here, titled Operation Hollow Path. It describes an unsanctioned mission in 1997 to retrieve unidentified biological material from an unmarked valley. The document mentions severe equipment failure, spatial disorientation, and physiological panic response among personnel. There's a single surviving line from the final page before the text is blacked out. Subject does not conform to known anthropometric scale. What was found in that valley? Some say it was nothing more than collapsed ice caverns and the bones of animals mistaken for something greater. Others whisper about a discovery too strange, too old, to ever fit into science or faith. In one of his last letters, Novak wrote something that never made it into the official reports. He said he dreamed of the valley often, that in his sleep he saw the forest again, but not as it was. The trees glowed faintly like veins of light, and beneath them walked shadows shaped like men, but taller, slower, deliberate. They never spoke. They only looked at him, and in their gaze he felt something not of malice but of mourning, as if they were waiting for something lost long ago to return. He ended the letter with a single line that chilled the archivist who read it years later. "I don't think they meant to hurt us. I think we walked where men were never meant to walk." And so the story of the footprints faded into rumor, buried beneath reports, dismissed as hallucination or folklore. But every winter, when the fog settles over the Carpathians and the snow deepens in the forgotten valleys, hikers still find them, prints too large, too deep, too perfectly shaped to belong to any animal. The locals don't go near them. They say to follow the tracks is to vanish. They say the forest keeps count. And somewhere high above, among trees that have watched centuries pass, something moves just beyond the edge of sight, vast, patient, and ancient. It leaves no sound, only the faint trace of its passing. Footprints too large to belong to any man.